The solution to prison overcrowding. The U.S. prison system has grown 700% over the last generation. It's costing us up to $40,000 per inmate every year, $74 billion annually nationwide. This program is exploring a way to maximize efficiency by condensing 10 years' worth of punishment into a single weekend. Welcome to Camp Rawhide. There is no devil, only man, and he does not buy souls. Not all at once, anyway. Man is far more insidious than that, for he grants down his brother's soul one layer at a time until the residual humanity begins to devour itself. It's hard to believe, but it's true. Begin to break a man, and he will finish the job on his own. That is because it is much easier to live as an animal than it is as half a man. I felt the first part of my humanity die when I was 12 years old. I had explained a knotted garbage bag full of drowned kittens to a child. I was young, but not too young to know that someone had done it on purpose, and that they had gotten away with it. Not too young to understand that evil wasn't just a thing in cartoons and movies. Not too young to realize that I, too, was capable of evil if I ever got my hands on this monster. Over the years, I felt more of myself slip away. Sometimes it would break off in big chunks like when my mother died, but more often my soul simply eroded from the steady tide of petty grievances, jealous greed, thoughtless anger, and 1,000 other frustrations that make up the life of any civilized man trying to find his place in the world. My defense attorney wanted me to talk about how I regretted killing Edward, that it was a defining moment in my life, and that my mind had been blown wide with righteous rebirth and revelation. There wasn't enough left of me to lie, though. I don't think my pulse even rose the night I took my neighbor's life. Edward used to be his life, and now he doesn't. That's all that changed, because there wasn't enough left of me to change. It almost makes me laugh now to think how far I still was from rock bottom. I got 15 years for that. Could have been worse, but the judge and jury were sympathetic after hearing the widow tearfully thank me for saving her. I can't even say I found jail any worse than at the outside either. The only difference was my daily routine, and the blur of a different set of faces performing it with me. I gained a reputation as a loose cannon in jail. People said I'd go from deadpan silence to an incoherent rage in 1 second flat. I don't think of it that way, though. I think of myself more like a brilliant pianist, seeming ordinary until sitting down to play. The music ability didn't suddenly appear out of nowhere. It had been there inside all along. It was the same with my anger. It was always there, but it was my choice whether to let it play. I was 5 years into my sentence before one of the guards took my moods personally, landing me in the hole. It was only supposed to be for a week, but everything I did seemed to extend the time. Unresponsive to the officer, add a week. Didn't eat the food, add a week and get my next meal replaced with a loaf, which is rotten cabbage and bread. Didn't eat the loaf, another weekend, no food until I choked it down. Even after I vomited it back up, they wouldn't give me more food until I'd eaten my sick just to teach me a lesson. I don't know what that lesson was, but the only thing I learned was to hate the hole. Having nothing to do is boring, but knowing it will continue with that sensation is despair. I was never a social person, but I found myself so starved for human contact that I even tried hugging the guard. It was like I needed someone to touch me just to prove I was still real. But nothing relieved the relentless pressure of the second-by-second attack on the soul, which was isolation. I knew I was really losing it when a fly found its way into my room. I named it Robizio and talked to it just to hear something beside the droning of fluorescent lights and the distant shouts from other cell blocks. I told Robizio about the girl I liked in high school, and how beautiful the sly wrinkle at the edge of her smile was. I described to him what a sunset looked like, and the taste of chocolate cake, and about the drawings I used to sketch, and 1,000 other things which I hadn't appreciated at the time. I didn't tell the fly that I never expected to see him again. I didn't want to make him sad and leave. It didn't matter, though, because the next time I woke up, he was gone anyway. I'm not ashamed that I cried to be alone again. In fact, I was relieved. It meant there was still a part of me which was human enough to feel. Hey, buddy. I opened my eyes. I wasn't sleeping, I was just laying on my back, preferring the malleable imagination to the stagnant cell. The voice had come from behind me. Can you hear me? What's your name? The voice asked. Someone else must have heard me talking to the fly. I turned around and found a crack in the mortar behind my bed. It must have connected with another cell in the housing detention block. Does it matter? I asked. Of course it does. It's the most important thing in the world. It's the thing they can't take from you. My name's Riley. Hi, Riley. I'm Travis, I replied. Have you been recruited yet, Travis? I don't know what you're talking about, I said. I glanced back at the closed door of my cell. Even if someone heard me, they'd probably just think I was talking to myself again. It's not like they checked in on us very often. Okay, good, Riley said. They're going to offer you a deal soon. You have to take it, trust me. What deal? Why should I trust you? I don't even know you. Sure you do, buddy, he said. I'm your only friend in the world. I heard metal scrape on metal. My door opened. I threw the pillow over the crack in the mortar and sat rigidly upright. I was reluctant to leave my new friend, but I don't think the guard noticed. My muscles were stiff from the cramped quarters, but I didn't even run around much. All I could think about was how great it would be to have someone to talk to right now. And the deal? It couldn't have been that special if he was still in prison, but it was something to think about, something to look forward to. Maybe they had even given him books or a notepad. A laptop or TV would be almost as good as getting out. Riley never answered again, though. For 2 days I tapped on the wall, but all I heard was ceaseless muttering. An old man swearing under his breath kind of muttering, like he was trying to talk but couldn't decide whether he was talking to himself or someone else. All hours of the day and night, non-stop muttering. I don't even remember him pausing to eat, let alone draw a breath. Most of it was inaudible gibberish, but there were a few things I finally made out after they were repeated for the 1000th time. Didn't expect to see him again. No siree, no. Just pretend to be human for me, will you? We can both pretend. I'm Riley. You're Riley too, but I was Riley first. I lost track of how long I was supposed to stay in here, but I'm sure I should have been out of solitary a long time ago. By the time they came to offer me the deal, I was completely convinced that accepting it was the only way to ever get out. It's very simple. We have nothing to hide, the prison warden told me. He looked like the type of man who would force his children to only speak when spoken to, and even then, only if they addressed him as sir. We could easily force you to accept, the warden continued. But after all, you are in my power. I choose when you sleep, when you eat, if you eat. But I am still making this a completely voluntary arrangement. What do you want from me? I asked. Prison overcrowding is a serious issue, the warden said. It felt like he was reading from a pre-prepared script. He was looking at me, but I wasn't really being seen. The prison system is rapidly becoming unsustainable, and the government is actively exploring alternative programs which can satisfy the need to deter and rehabilitate criminals without the prohibitive expense and opportunity cost of prison. I'm offering you the chance to volunteer in one of these programs. You're going to take me out of prison? Then how come Riley stayed in here? The warden's face screwed up like he'd just taken a bite from a lemon. Riley is gone. He's been gone for a while now. There was something about how he emphasized the name which made it seem like Riley hadn't changed locations. He changed from being Riley. The warden was already talking again, though, and there wasn't any space to ask more questions. I can't disclose all the details with you, but rest assured your sentence will be considerably abbreviated. Our programs are designed for maximal efficiency, and 15 years of wasted time and money are going to be condensed into a weekend. I didn't care about the time. What did I have to look forward to on the outside? It might seem inconsequential to you, but the only reason I accepted his offer was that I missed having someone to talk to. And if this was a government project, then what was the worst they could do? Maybe I really could get a clean start. The warden gave me some papers to sign and then left. I was handcuffed by the guard and escorted out of my cell. He tried to keep my head low, but I caught a glimpse of the adjoining cell where Riley must have stayed. A man in a rubber suit was pressure washing blood out of the stone tiles. What happened to that guy? I asked the guard. Is he hurt? The guard shifted uneasily and looked around like he wasn't sure if he was supposed to say or not. Then he shrugged. What was he still doing in there? I pressed. I thought Riley made the same deal. Yeah, he finished the deal, the guard said. He was supposed to be released in a few more days after the official pardon was granted, but I don't know. Guess he wanted a quicker way out. The man in the rubber suit picked up a fork on the floor. It was covered in congealed blood all the way up the handle. I tried to get a better look, but the guard shoved me onward. I was put into the back of an unmarked police car. Somehow I'd expected a whole bus load of people, but it was only me. In a few days I'd be a free man. It hardly seems possible. How was I supposed to pick up the pieces and become something new? And it sounded like Riley really was going to be released. If he hadn't, well, I wasn't as fragile as him. I could survive anything for a weekend. I wasn't paying much attention to where we were going, but we drove for a long while before the car stopped at a ranch deep in the desert. There weren't any pens for animals, just wide open spaces separated by lone stone barriers, which I could have easily stepped over. I guess they didn't worry much about escape when there was nowhere to escape to. Welcome to Camp Rawhide. I was greeted by a man wearing a leather vest and denim pants who stood outside the ranch house. The officer uncuffed my hands, but I didn't move. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. 10 years left on your sentence. All over in 2 days. Seems like a pretty good deal to me, eh? But don't you worry. You won't miss out on anything, the man continued. His voice was muffled from speaking around the cigar in his mouth. His eyes didn't leave mine. Mine didn't leave his. It's my job to make sure you still get 10 years worth of punishment this weekend. I heard the sound of tires roaring over dry earth. I hadn't even noticed the officer had gone, but it was too late now. I couldn't look away from the man in front of me. The man I killed. What are you doing here? Edward grinned. He took a step closer to me and took the cigar out of his mouth. Same thing as you, darling. I'm just trying to find some justice in this shit-stained world. But between you and me, I don't know if there really is any justice out there. I reckon there's just people who got what they deserved and people who got lucky. Another step closer. I could feel the heat radiating from the end of his cigar as it brushed my hand. It was exactly the same as that insufferable creature I used to live next to. His words blew onto my face alongside his rancid breath. And by the time I'm through with you, there won't be any doubts. You weren't one of the lucky ones.